Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Before we dive into today's story, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like button and subscribe. It's a simple click for you, but it means the world to me. Let's get into the story. My name's Tony Rowan, and I'm here to share a personal story that took a turn I never expected. My wife, Jillian, Jill to those close to her, was the love of my life. We tied the knot with dreams of a future filled with love, laughter, and family. I ventured into starting my own business as a consulting engineer, while Jill worked with a small team at a medical supplies company. We had plans, saving up and laying down the foundations for a life we both dreamed of. For a good 8 years, it seemed like everything was falling perfectly into place. Our relationship was strong and our connection deep. Honestly, I thought I had found the perfect partner in Jill. We invested in a quaint cottage needing plenty of TLC, but saw potential in making it our dream home. Situated in a quiet alley with just a handful of neighbours, it was our little sanctuary. Renovating the cottage became a labour of love for us, despite the need to bring in professionals for the technical jobs. It was almost a symbol of us building our future together, brick by brick. However, as we neared our 9th anniversary, a shadow fell over our happiness. Jill's behaviour towards me changed dramatically. She became distant and critical, and the warmth we shared seemed to cool off. Additionally, our once vibrant, intimate life dwindled to nothing. Jill started spending more nights out, allegedly with colleagues, but something in my gut told me it wasn't just innocent socializing. She wouldn't return until the early hours of the morning, leaving me to battle with my thoughts and the silence of our home. Desperate for advice, I turned to my lifelong friend, Barry Patton. Barry had been by my side since high school and even became an integral part of my business. Initially skeptical, Barry's perspective shifted as he learned more, eventually suggesting the possibility I dreaded most: Jill might be cheating on me. Barry's confidence in his assessment, given reluctantly, hit me hard. Faced with this painful possibility, I decided to seek the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I contacted a private investigator, Joe Amos, who came highly recommended. In our meeting, I laid bare my fears and suspicions. Joe promised discretion and efficiency in gathering the evidence needed to confirm whether Jill was being unfaithful. Sitting in my office after that meeting, I felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, but also a resolve to face whatever came next. If Jill was indeed seeing someone else, it would mean the end of the life we had built together. The thought of divorce loomed large, with its financial and emotional tolls. This story is far from over, and I promise to keep you updated as things unfold. Your support means everything during this difficult time. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories and updates. Thank you for being here with me. Leaving Joe's office, I felt a glimmer of hope, praying that maybe I was just being paranoid and wasting money on his services. The next day, a technician came to the cottage to install hidden cameras and a voice recorder on the phone line. I doubted Jill would be foolish enough to use our home phone for anything incriminating, but I needed to know the truth. A week later, I got in touch with Joe for the results, and what I heard was gut-wrenching. The report and DVD he handed me painted a disturbing picture. Reluctantly, I paid him his last fee and left with the evidence. Back in my office, I ignored Joe's advice and decided to watch the DVD. What I saw shook me to the core. The report revealed that Jill's supposed girls' nights out were a cover for her to meet another man she was working with. They sneaked off for long lunches and afternoons at a nearby motel. They even visited his house multiple times. The DVD captured one Thursday afternoon when Jill came home with this man, and they immediately retreated to our bedroom, where they engaged in passionate lovemaking for hours. Hearing Jill's words to her lover about their affair being paradise was like a dagger to my heart. The report even made a crude comparison between me and him, emphasizing the size difference. Armed with this damning evidence, I devised a plan to confront them at the cottage, intending to kick the guy out and throw Jill to the curb. The following Thursday, I drove past our house and saw both Jill's car and another unfamiliar one parked in the driveway. Parking on the street, I stormed into our home. Upstairs, their passionate noises filled the air, and without a second thought, I barged into the bedroom, demanding the man to leave. But to my shock, it wasn't the man I had seen in the video. This guy was much bigger and heavier than me. Before I could react, he started moving toward me. I woke up to darkness, disoriented and tied to a chair with a gag in my mouth. Jill, my wife, was on the bed with 3 men, indulging in acts I couldn't bear to watch. When one of the men noticed I was awake, they laughed at my helplessness. Jill approached me, her face smeared with evidence of her betrayal. Removing the gag, I asked her why she was doing this to us. Her answer shattered me. She found marriage to me boring, seeking excitement elsewhere. In her eyes, I was nothing more than a dull companion, replaceable by her newfound fun with these men. As I struggled to comprehend her betrayal, one of the men struck me, plunging me into darkness once more. When I regained consciousness, I was bound and hooded, lying on the floor of a vehicle. Their voices confirmed my worst fears. They intended to end my life. The journey was rough, the bumps on the road causing me pain. When we finally stopped, I feared what awaited me. They untied my legs and I stumbled forward, realizing the gravity of the situation. Death seemed imminent as they pushed and prodded me forward. I braced myself, silently praying for a swift end. But instead of a gunshot, they began to beat me mercilessly. Each blow was a reminder of Jill's betrayal and the cruelty of those around me. Despite the pain, I clung to the hope that this nightmare would soon come to an end. Hours must have passed before they stopped, leaving me battered and bruised on the ground. As they drove away, I lay there, struggling to comprehend the events that had unfolded. How had everything spiraled out of control so quickly? Slowly, I managed to remove the hood, blinking against the harsh light of dawn. My surroundings were unfamiliar, a desolate landscape stretching out before me. With great effort, I struggled to my feet, every movement sending waves of agony through my battered body. It was clear I needed help, but I had no idea where I was or how far I was from civilization. Every step was a battle against pain and exhaustion, but I forced myself to keep moving, driven by the desperate need to survive. Eventually, I stumbled upon a road, the sound of approaching vehicles filling me with hope. I waved frantically, praying for someone to stop and offer assistance. When a car finally pulled over, I collapsed into the arms of the stranger, tears streaming down my face as I recounted the horrors I had endured. From that moment on, my life would never be the same. The betrayal of my wife, the brutality of her accomplices. It was a nightmare I would carry with me forever. But as I looked ahead, I vowed to rebuild my life from the ashes, to find a way to heal from the wounds that had been inflicted upon me. I collapsed to the ground, the relentless blows raining down upon me until my body lay motionless. Though barely alive, I could sense their presence, their hands checking for signs of life. "Hyun's dead," one of them declared callously, deciding to abandon me there in the desolate wilderness. As they departed, leaving me for dead, I lay still, grappling with the pain and confusion. Thoughts of Jill, my wife, haunted me. What had driven her to betray me so profoundly? Despite my efforts to be a good husband, she had turned to others, seeking pleasure in ways that tore at my soul. Struggling to rise, I fought against the agony coursing through my battered body. Eventually, I managed to stand, my wrists still bound, my head throbbing from the blows I had endured. With determination, I set about freeing myself from the hood that obscured my vision. the fabric torn and bloodied from the assault. Emerging from the darkness, my one functioning eye surveyed the unfamiliar surroundings. Lost and disoriented, I knew only that I had been abandoned in some dense forest or thicket. Ignoring the pain, I stumbled along what seemed to be the path of least resistance, desperate to find help and escape this nightmare. In my weakened state, every step was a struggle, every movement a testament to my will to survive. Yet, as I pressed on, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon, a distant light signaling the presence of civilization. Summoning the last reserves of my strength, I pushed forward, driven by the prospect of salvation. Approaching the source of light, I discerned the outline of a cottage or farmhouse. With renewed determination, I made my way to the gate, but my efforts to open it proved futile. Desperation rising within me, I cried out for help, only to be met with silence. Suddenly, darkness enveloped me once more, my consciousness slipping away. When I awoke, my left eye still closed, I found myself inside a room, the events of the past hours a blur of pain and terror. Yet, as I lay there, battered and broken, a flicker of hope ignited within me, the hope that I might yet find a way to escape this nightmare and reclaim my life. Once upon a time, in a small, vibrant town nestled between rolling hills and sparkling rivers, lived a man named Thomas. Thomas was a simple man with a heart full of dreams and a mind filled with imaginations of distant lands and adventures untold. Despite his mundane job at the local mill, he never let go of the hope that one day he would embark on a journey that would transform his life. Thomas's life took an unexpected turn one chilly autumn evening when he stumbled upon an old dusty book in the corner of the town's library. The book was bound in leather, with intricate patterns carved into its cover, and it seemed to glow with a soft, inviting light. Curiosity piqued, Thomas checked out the book and hurried home, his heart beating with anticipation. As he turned the pages, he realized it was no ordinary book but a gateway to another world, a realm filled with magic, mystery, and possibilities beyond his wildest dreams. The book told of a legendary land where the skies were painted with auroras every night, where mythical creatures roamed free, and where one could find the true essence of life and happiness. Feeling a surge of excitement he hadn't felt in years, Thomas made up his mind. He was going to venture into this fantastical world and discover its secrets. With his trusty backpack, a map he sketched from the book, and a heart full of courage, he set off into the unknown. His journey was not without challenges. He trekked through dense forests where the trees whispered secrets of the old world, crossed rivers that flowed with the wisdom of ages, and climbed mountains that touched the sky. Along the way, Thomas encountered creatures of myth, gracious elves who taught him the language of the forest, dwarves who showed him the value of hard work and perseverance, and dragons who soared with him to the highest peaks, showing him the world from above. Each encounter, each challenge, and each victory added layers to Thomas's character, transforming him not just on the outside, but reshaping his soul. He learned the true meaning of courage, the value of friendship, and the power of dreams. Finally, after what seemed like a lifetime of adventures, Thomas reached the heart of the magical land, the Crystal Valley, where it was said the essence of life itself resided. There, in a moment of pure magic and wonder, Thomas found what he had been searching for: a sense of belonging, purpose, and an unbreakable connection to the world around him. As the sun rose, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, Thomas realized that while he had set out to find a new world, he had also discovered himself. He understood now that every person holds within them the power to change their lives, to embark on journeys of their own making, and to find the magic within. With a heart full of gratitude and eyes open to the beauty of the world, Thomas returned home, knowing that the greatest adventure lies not in the lands unknown, but within oneself, in the courage to dream and the will to make those dreams come true. When I assured Barry that I trusted him to handle any work issues that arose, he seemed content and our conversation ended. Rosie, noticing our exchange, inquired about my plans. I explained that my priority was to recuperate until I regained enough mobility to return home. After that, I was determined to make those responsible for my ordeal pay, though I hadn't yet devised a plan. Rosie's supportive nod and gentle smile reassured me. However, a sudden realization struck me. Beyond her name, I knew little about Rosie or even where I was. She mentioned the name of the nearest village, indicating I was at least 3 hours away from home. Despite my curiosity, Rosie remained enigmatic, providing care and sustenance until I finally felt strong enough to leave weeks later. Expressing my gratitude, I promised to call someone to pick me up. However, Rosie insisted on dropping me off at the village's train station, ensuring no one could trace my whereabouts due to the remote location. Weak and still recovering, I struggled into Rosie's car, realizing I wasn't yet fully healed. Upon Barry's arrival, his shock at my appearance was evident. As we drove back, I recounted the events to him, including my suspicion about Jill's motives for betrayal. It dawned on me that she might be driven by greed, eyeing half of our company's wealth in a potential divorce settlement. Barry offered me refuge at his place, promising to keep my whereabouts a secret. Grateful, I asked him to fetch my laptop from the office and some clothes. At a shopping mall along the way, I managed to acquire basic necessities, acknowledging that for now it would suffice. Arriving at Barry's house under the cloak of darkness, I couldn't help but wonder about the neighbours' speculation. According to Barry, Jill had played the role of a concerned wife impeccably, reaching out to everyone but the police in search of me. Gradually recovering, I realized Jill's calls to Barry had dwindled, a sign she was preoccupied with her newfound freedom. Left with ample time to contemplate, I resolved that my revenge would be substantial, a fitting retribution for the betrayal I endured. As I grappled with the turmoil of betrayal and vengeance swirling within me, I found myself exploring the darkest recesses of the internet, the infamous dark web. There, amidst the shadowy corners and encrypted platforms, I stumbled upon unsettling revelations. The prospect of hiring a hitman, veiled under the guise of mechanics, loomed ominously, presenting a chilling solution to my predicament. However, hesitant to involve others in my vendetta, I continued my search for alternatives. In a desperate bid for guidance, I clandestinely reached out online, cloaking my intentions under the guise of seeking assistance with a chemical conundrum. Amidst a barrage of responses, one individual's understanding and sincerity stood out, leading to the establishment of encrypted communication channels to maintain secrecy. Following his guidance, I embarked on a clandestine procurement mission, acquiring specific items essential to materialize my plan. Yet, the success of my scheme hinged on a crucial factor: knowledge of Jill and her paramour's whereabouts. Determined to gather intelligence, I invested in discreet listening devices, colloquially referred to as bugs, to monitor their activities covertly. Despite my evolving stratagem, I maintained a facade of normalcy during my interactions with Barry, refraining from divulging the depths of my intentions. Instead, I focused on fostering the illusion of business as usual, reassuring him of our company's progress and future prospects. With each passing conversation, I concealed the seething cauldron of rage and vengeance brewing beneath the surface. When the bugs finally arrived, I seized the opportune moment to install them within Jill's residence while she was absent. Surprisingly, she had not changed the locks, evidently convinced of my demise. Stealthily infiltrating her abode, I strategically planted the listening devices in the living room and bedroom, granting me access to their clandestine conversations. Despite the tumult of emotions raging within me, I observed Jill's house with a detached sense of scrutiny. To my astonishment, the environment remained eerily pristine, devoid of any trace of the clandestine liaisons transpiring within its walls. It was a stark juxtaposition, the facade of domesticity masking the betrayal and infidelity lurking beneath the surface. As I, as I eavesdropped on their conversations, a chilling realization dawned upon me, the extent of Jill's betrayal and the depth of her depravity. Overhearing her arrangements for rendezvous with her paramours, including the one whose voice I recognized from the van, I was engulfed by a maelstrom of emotions. Her callous disregard for our vows and the depths of her deception fueled the flames of retribution burning within me. Armed with newfound insight and a steely resolve, I contemplated the next steps in my quest for justice. Yet, amidst the turmoil of vengeance, a gnawing uncertainty lingered, the spectre of what lay ahead and the potential repercussions of my actions loomed ominously on the horizon. Despite the uncertainty, one thing remained unequivocal: the unyielding determination to reclaim what was rightfully mine and exact retribution upon those who had wronged me. As I sat in the shadows, contemplating my plan for retribution against Jill and her complicit lovers, a surge of determination coursed through me. I knew I couldn't rely on outside assistance. This was my battle to fight alone. Amidst the labyrinthine depths of the internet's dark web, I stumbled upon unsettling options, including the chilling prospect of hiring a hitman veiled under the cryptic term mechanics. Recoiling from such extreme measures, I continued my search for a solution. Driven by desperation, I ventured into the murky underworld of encrypted communication, seeking guidance under the guise of a chemical inquiry. Amidst a sea of responses, one individual's understanding and sincerity resonated with me, leading to a clandestine partnership forged in secrecy. With encrypted channels established, I embarked on a covert mission to procure the necessary tools for my plan's execution. However, the success of my scheme hinged on one crucial element: intelligence on Jill and her paramour's whereabouts. Determined to gather vital information, I invested in discreet listening devices, colloquially known as bugs, to monitor their movements and conversations covertly. Despite the weight of my intentions, I maintained a facade of normalcy during my interactions with Barry, concealing the seething cauldron of rage and vengeance simmering beneath the surface. Instead, I focused on fostering the illusion of business as usual, reassuring him of our company's growth and future prospects. When the bugs finally arrived, I seized the opportunity to infiltrate Jill's residence while she was away. Stealthily navigating through the shadows, I strategically planted the listening devices, granting me access to their clandestine conversations. Despite the turmoil raging within me, I observed Jill's house with detached scrutiny. To my surprise, the environment remained eerily pristine, masking the betrayal and infidelity lurking beneath its facade. As I eavesdropped on their conversations, a chilling realization dawned upon me: the extent of Jill's deceit and the depths of her depravity. Overhearing her arrangements for a rendezvous with her paramours, including the one whose voice I recognized from the van, fueled the flames of retribution burning within me. Armed with newfound insight and a steely resolve, I embarked on the final phase of my plan. On the fateful Friday evening, I concealed myself in the shadows, awaiting the opportune moment. As Jill and her companions indulged in their festivities upstairs, I executed my meticulously crafted plan. Pouring 2 liquids onto the carpet, I created a path back to the kitchen, where a third liquid served as the trigger for the impending chaos. Exiting the house silently, I raced to safety, a sense of grim satisfaction washing over me as a bright flash illuminated the night sky behind me. Returning to Barry's house, I washed away the remnants of the night's events, steeling myself for the aftermath. The next morning, I returned to the scene of the inferno under the guise of retrieving my belongings. However, my attempt to slip away unnoticed was thwarted by the unexpected arrival of Detective Inspector Hobson, casting a shadow of doubt over my carefully constructed facade. Yet, as I faced interrogation, a glimmer of satisfaction flickered within me, knowing that my vengeance had been exacted. As we strolled along the path together, the detective continued his questioning. He inquired about any flammable materials I might have kept at home. I reassured him that I didn't store anything hazardous, aside from a small gasoline canister in the barn for my lawnmower. Describing the devastation of the cottage, I pointed out the collapsed walls and sagging roof, evidence of the fire's destructive force. The detective pressed further, asking if my wife had any visitors the previous night. I reiterated our separation, emphasizing that I had no knowledge of her activities. Learning about the ongoing recovery of bodies, I was stunned. 10 lives lost in the blaze, with authorities still searching for more victims. Grateful for the detective's updates, I returned to my car and immediately contacted Barry. I confided in him about the situation, seeking reassurance that he would corroborate my alibi of being at his house all night. With his support, I faced the interrogation with a semblance of calm. 2 months passed before the investigation concluded, attributing the fire to a gas appliance malfunction. The coroner's verdict of accidental death offered closure, albeit tinged with sorrow for the lives lost. In my statement, I speculated about Jill hosting a party with a colleague, distancing myself from the tragic events. Attending Jill's funeral, I paid my respects with a symbolic gesture, tossing a handful of earth and a rose into her grave. Attached to the rose was a postcard bearing my unspoken sentiments, a bitter farewell to a woman who betrayed me. While some interpreted it as a gesture of affection, others questioned the circumstances surrounding her demise. Jill's mother, in particular, sought answers, questioning my absence that fateful night and the presence of 9 men in her daughter's home. I reiterated our estrangement and left the rest to speculation, refusing to be drawn into further scrutiny. In the aftermath of the tragedy, I grappled with conflicting emotions, grief for the lives lost and a simmering resentment towards Jill's betrayal. As I navigated through the aftermath, I found solace in the closure the investigation provided, even as unanswered questions lingered. After parting ways with Barry, I found a cozy furnished apartment to call home. While moving, I realized that the most significant loss was my entire wardrobe, but fortunately the insurance company covered the damages to the house. Opting not to rebuild, I sold the plot to a developer, preferring to leave behind the memories that haunted the charred ruins. In the wake of the tragedy, the media buzzed with speculation about the peculiar gathering of 9 men and 1 woman in the house that fateful night. Refusing to engage with the conjecture, I allowed people to draw their own conclusions. As for the individuals involved, I remained detached, paying little heed to the reports of their funerals. Despite my gratitude towards Rosie for her role in my salvation, my attempts to express thanks were thwarted. Despite inquiring with locals, I couldn't locate her cottage. Barry, on the other hand, never broached the subject of the fire, instead offering to set me up on a date, displaying his unwavering support during trying times. Currently, I'm focused on moving forward with my life, eager to embrace new beginnings. A woman residing in the same apartment building has caught my eye, and though our interactions have been limited to polite greetings, there's a spark of potential. Should our relationship progress, I'm resolved to safeguard my interests with a prenuptial agreement before considering marriage once more.